Ilias's ship looked like it belonged in a scrapyard, not a docking bay. The hull was patched with mismatched plates, the engines sputtered black smoke, and the cockpit glass was cracked and held together with old sealant. The lights flickered. Even when the ship stood still, it creaked like a dying beast whenever it landed. When he brought it into Dock 12 of the Outer Rim Station Farside Delta, half the port crew stopped what they were doing just to laugh. "Hey, you bring that thing from a museum?" "No, he dragged it out of a black hole." "More rust than ship." "You flying or begging for mercy?" The jokes didn't bother Elias. He had heard worse. People always laughed. What else could they do? The galaxy was filled with shiny new cruisers, corporate liners, and military dropships. His ship didn't match anything in the fleet catalogs. That made people nervous. Nervous people laughed. But what they didn't know was, he wasn't here by choice. He didn't know why his ship had pulled him toward this station. It felt like instinct, like something had whispered in his dreams. Go to Farside Delta. Wait. So, that's what he did. The docking technician, a short woman named Mara, shook her head when she came close. "You shouldn't even be flying this, old man," she said. "I'm not old," Elias replied. "Just worn." She gave a small smirk, but her eyes narrowed. She pointed to a strange metal plate welded near the engine. This isn't human tech," she said. "Where did you get it?" Elias turned slowly. It was always there. Mara's face changed. The joking stopped. She tapped something into her wristpad and stared hard at the screen. "Your transponder. It says Elias Gray. No last records, no birth location, no Earth ID. You're not even in the orbital census." "Is that a problem?" Elias asked. "For someone with a ship like this, yeah, a big one." Later that night, after the dock closed and the noise of the station went quiet, Elias sat in the pilot seat of his ship. He stared at the stars. He didn't remember building this ship. He didn't remember buying it, but he knew every part of it. Knew how the wires twisted behind the walls. Knew how the engines sometimes responded better if he touched them with bare hands. Knew that if he sat quietly, the ship would hum, like it was alive. That night, the hum changed. It became music, soft, strange, like chimes in deep space. Then he saw her standing inside the cargo bay was a woman in silver armor. Her eyes glowed a soft blue. Her skin shimmered, like she wasn't fully real. "You came," she said. Elias stood, startled. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" "I've always been here," she replied. "You just couldn't see me yet." The next morning, Dock 12 was busy again. Cargo workers rolled crates, drones hovered, ships came and went. But something was different. Mara, the tech from earlier, had spent all night scanning Elias's ship, and she found something impossible. The ship had nanoweaves embedded in its hull technology Earth hadn't developed yet. One of the components near the fusion core showed anti-time radiation. That kind of signature only came from experimental labs, or deep black-level tech used in time experiments. Except Ilias's ship had no clearance, no sponsor, no origin. The only explanation. The ship was from the future. "You need to come with us," said the security officer later that day. 2 armed guards stood behind him. Elias looked at them calmly. "Why? You've got illegal tech, and you don't exist on any registry. You're either a thief or a ghost." Ilias stood slowly, but before he could move, the lights in the docking bay blinked. Then shut off. Emergency lights kicked in. Red glow filled the walls. The other ships powered down. Drones froze in mid-air, and Ilias's ship, it lit up. The broken lights turned bright white. The cracked glass sealed itself. The old rust faded like smoke. The engines began to glow deep purple, cold and powerful. The ship wasn't dying, it was waking up. The guards pulled their guns. "Back away," one shouted. Elias didn't move. The woman in silver armor stepped out from the ship's ramp. This time, everyone could see her. She looked, not fully solid, like light wrapped around her. "My name is Saren," she said, "and you need to let Elias go. He's not your enemy." The guards were frozen. One of them dropped his gun. Saren raised her hand. The dock lights turned back on. The other ships reactivated. Drones resumed their tasks. Only Ilias's ship remained glowing with unnatural light. Mara stepped forward, voice shaking. "What are you?" Saren looked at Elias. "Tell them," he swallowed, then spoke. "I think I'm from the future. I just don't know it yet." The station's command center was in chaos. Footage of the dock blackout had already been uploaded across relay networks. The image of Saren stepping out of the glowing ship went viral within an hour. Some called it fake. Some said it was an AI trick. Others believed, because this wasn't the first strange event. On 4 other stations across the Outer Rim, Similar things had happened. Ghost signals, ships activating on their own. Energy signatures that didn't belong to the present time. Something or someone was breaking the rules of reality. And now, all attention turned to Elias Gray and his ship. Back in the ship, Elias sat across from Saren. You said I'm important. Why? He asked. Saren looked at him with sad eyes. Because one day you'll decide the fate of humanity. You'll build something no one understands. And they'll all want to stop you before it happens. But I don't even know how to fly properly, he said. You will. The ship remembers. You just need to wake it fully. He leaned back. Why don't I remember anything before I got the ship? She hesitated. Because your timeline was broken. Something tried to erase your history, to stop you before you started. Elias felt cold. So I'm a time ghost. No, she said. You're the spark, and the fire is coming. At that moment, far across the stars, a galactic patrol cruiser received a priority message. Order 77A. Find and eliminate subject Elias Gray. Do not engage ship without support. Subject is anchor point in temporal war. Back in Farside Delta, Mara stood outside Elias's ship, watching it quietly. She didn't laugh anymore. No one did. Not after the ship started repairing itself. Not after the woman in silver walked through walls. Not after the sensor logs showed no human inside the ship until 3 days ago. And then suddenly, Elias appeared. No birth logs. No family. No DNA records. Just there. Inside the ship. Saren stood near the engine core. Elias joined her. This ship, he said slowly. It's not just metal. No, she agreed. It's a seed. He frowned. A seed of what? She looked up. Of a future where humans controlled time, and the galaxy fears them. Elias laughed softly. Then why does it feel like I'm the only one left? Saren answered, because the future hasn't grown yet. You're the first root, and soon, others will follow. He looked at her closely. Why are you helping me? Saren smiled faintly. Because you helped me once, long ago, or maybe, not yet. Farside Delta was no longer quiet. Since the blackout, Station Command had doubled patrols. Engineers scanned every system, every drone, every ship. But all logs came back normal except for one, Elias Gray's ship. That ship didn't just power itself up, it changed. The rust was gone. The cracked systems were now fused with something that looked like crystal wiring. The old cockpit glass had turned clear like ice, but strong like armor. And strangest of all, the engines weren't running on any known fuel. Were humming softly, like they were singing. Security Officer Bray watched the video feed on loop. At 2:11 standard time. The ship had been dark and dead. At 2:12, the lights flicked. The ship came alive. At 2:13, a figure woman-shaped armor shining walked into the ship from the side. No door opened, no airlock activated. She just appeared, like she had stepped through space itself. Bray slammed his hand on the table. This is a trick, a hard-light hologram. It has to be. But deep down, he didn't believe that anymore. Meanwhile, Elias sat inside his ship, watching Saren. She was standing near the wall, one hand pressed against the metal. It rippled gently like water around her fingers. Are you even human? Elias asked. Saren turned. I was. Once. My mind is still mine, but my body is light now. I exist across timelines. That's the only way I can reach you. Why me? Elias asked. Why not someone stronger, or smarter, or more real? She smiled softly. Because all those others fail. I've seen thousands of futures. In every one, you're the only version of humanity that survives. You just don't know it yet. Elias shook his head. I'm not ready. You don't need to be, she replied. But the enemy won't wait. Outside the ship, Mara was arguing with Bray. You can't just shut him down, she yelled. You saw the footage. That ship is beyond anything we've seen. Bray frowned. Exactly. That's why we have to stop him before he becomes a threat. Command thinks he might be a living anomaly, a paradox. You think he's dangerous? Bray tapped his screen. There's a kill order coming from Sector Command. Order 77A. No trial, no arrest, just eliminate. Mara's eyes widened. That's insane, is it? Bray asked. That ship doesn't follow our physics. That woman walked through matter. What happens if they lose control? But what he didn't know was that they never had control to begin with. That night, the station's security grid, glitched. Just for 0.3 seconds. That was enough. A new data file appeared in every main terminal. It wasn't a virus, it didn't destroy anything, it just played a message. It was a hologram. Elias Gray, but older, worn, his beard streaked with silver, his voice deep and steady. To those who hunt me, I understand your fear, but if you kill me now, time breaks. Everything you know collapses. To those who follow me, I didn't ask for this. But if you're hearing this, I'm already becoming who I was meant to be. They'll say I'm the threat, but I'm not the fire. I'm the one trying to hold the flame back. Station Command tried to delete the message. It kept coming. Back. No matter what terminal, what backup system, what screen it played every hour, and every time it did, more people began to ask the same question. Who is Elias Gray? Back inside the ship, Elias stared at his reflection. The ship's interface was changing. The controls were no longer buttons and wires. They were lines of light, responding to his thoughts. Saren, he said, I never made that message. She nodded. Not yet, but you will. He touched the glowing core near the pilot seat. It pulsed under his fingers. You said I had 7 days. Before what? Saren's voice grew cold. Before they send the chrono hunters, assassins from splintered timelines. They won't ask questions. They'll erase you like you were never born. How do I stop them? He asked. She stepped close. Learn your ship. It's not a vessel, it's a seed. The more you bond with it, the more power it gives you. Power to do what? Ilias whispered. To rewrite time. She answered, and to fight those who try to control it. Just then, the ship's warning lights flared. Incoming vessel detected. One ship, small, stealth class, but fast. Faster than anything Farside Delta had seen. Saren turned to Elias. They're early. Who? He asked. She looked out the cockpit window and her voice was ice. The first hunter. The station issued a warning, but it was too late. The stealth ship didn't dock. It pierced through the outer ring like a bullet. No ID, no communication. It fired once a time disruptor cannon right at Dock 12. The other ship scrambled, but Ilias's ship stood still, and then, it moved, without Elias touching anything. It rose up, hovered and glowed bright blue. Saren placed her hand on the main interface. You're not ready, but the ship is. A barrier of shimmering light formed around them. The disruptor beam hit and bounced, not deflected, erased. The hunter ship circled around, preparing to fire again. Elias looked at Saren. What do I do? She turned to him. Trust your ship. He sat in the pilot seat. It responded. Lights danced, wires retracted. The screen filled with strange symbols, but somehow he understood them. His fingers moved fast, like instinct. The ship turned sharply, engines roaring, colors shifting between deep purple and ghost white. The hunter's ship fired again. Elias pressed one glowing circle. The ship vanished. To outside observers, Elias's ship just disappeared. No explosion, no sound. One moment it was there, the next it wasn't. Inside the ship, Elias felt his body stretch, not in pain. In time he saw flashes, memories not his, versions of himself on distant planets, holding a weapon, commanding fleets, watching stars die. Then silence. They had jumped. Saren looked at him, smiling. You bonded. The ship knows you now. Elias blinked. Where are we? She replied calmly. Exactly 3 minutes and 41 seconds into the future. He looked out the window. The hunter ship was just arriving at Dock 12. In his timeline, they had already left. Saren turned to him. This is only the beginning. The hunters won't stop, but now you have something they fear. What's that? Elias asked. She touched the core gently. A ship that listens, and a man who's learning to become legend. The ship floated in silence. Elias stood at the front window, staring into space. He had jumped forward in time just minutes, but it felt like years. The stars looked the same, but something inside him had changed. His hands didn't shake anymore. His thoughts were clearer. The ship felt like an extension of himself now. He could feel it humming through his skin like it was alive, and watching. Saren stood beside him, calm as always. You're adapting fast, she said. Elias looked down. I don't feel like me anymore. That's because you're not, Saren replied. You're becoming what time tried to erase. The jump had left echoes. The ship's scanners picked up faint distortions like ripples in space. Timeline waves, Saren explained. Every time you jump, reality shifts around you. Some timelines try to fight back, some try to merge. Elias frowned. That means, I'm affecting the galaxy. Saren nodded. You're already doing it. Watch. She touched the display panel. A holomap appeared. It showed Elias's timeline, stretching across stars. But something was wrong. His timeline had holes in it, blank spots, cuts. Places where history didn't exist. Saren pointed to one. This was your homeworld. Elias stared. It was gone. No records, no name, no orbit, just black space. I don't remember anything, he whispered. I don't even know if I had parents, friends, a past. You did, Saren said. But your enemies didn't just want to kill you. They wanted to erase you from the galaxy's memory. She paused. They almost succeeded. Back on Farside, Delta, Security Officer Bray was losing control. Elias had vanished. The footage of the Hunter ship's failed attack had gone viral across the outer sectors. People were talking about time travel, about legends, about the man in the ghost ship even. Some officers started asking, what if Elias wasn't the threat? Bray slammed his fist on the console. I want every system pinging for temporal distortions. I want AI drones tracking warp signatures. He has to show up again. One technician turned in his chair, face pale. Sir, there's a problem. Bray looked over. What now? We ran his DNA through the Galactic Core database, through Earth's archives, through the old colonies. It's not just that he's not registered. The tech swallowed. His genetic code doesn't match any known branch of humanity. Back aboard the ship, Elias paced the bridge. I don't understand, he said. If I'm not in the records, if my DNA doesn't match, what does that mean? I'm not human. Saren looked at him carefully. You're human, but you're not from this time. Elias's heart pounded. Then when she walked to the ship's core and activated another HOLOO- projection that showed a fleet of ships, massive, black like void, glowing with power. That's the future, Saren said. Thousands of years from now, after the Federation falls, after the AI wars, after the star burnings, that's when your kind rises. My kind, you are the first of a new line. Not just human, not machine. A merger grown from lost timelines. You're not born, you're written into time. Elias sat down. His chest felt heavy. All this time, I thought I was a drifter with a junk ship. Saren sat across from him. You are more than that. But your journey isn't over. Others are coming. He looked at her. More hunters. She shook her head. Worse. The ones who built the timeline walls. The keepers. Elias narrowed his eyes. What do they want? They believe in order. That time should move one way only. You are a glitch, a paradox that survived deletion. To them, you're a disease. And what happens if they find me? Saren's voice was calm. They won't kill you. They'll lock you in the memory vault. You'll exist but never be seen again. No thoughts, no identity, just silence forever. Suddenly, the ship's alarm pulsed. Unregistered timeshift detected. Elias stood. What now? Saren rushed to the console. A ripple had opened for off, but heading toward them fast. It wasn't just a ship. It was a full-scale gate. From the ripple, something emerged. It wasn't one ship. It was 3.CHRONO-keepers. Their vessels were shaped like broken clocks, spinning slowly in orbit, metal arms ticking with energy pulses. Whispered, they're here early. Elias tightened his grip on the control sphere. Then I guess we fight. The keepers sent a warning that it wasn't a voice, it wasn't words, it was a vision projected into Elias's mind. He saw Earth burning. He saw versions of himself falling into darkness. He saw stars blinking out, one by one. Then a message formed in the void. You do not belong. Elias shook his head. They want me scared. Saren nodded. Don't give them what they want. The ship responded. Panels retracted. Weapons appeared, not missiles or lasers, but quantum blades. Folded energy wrapped in gravity fields. Your ship knows how to fight them, Saren said. You just have to trust it. Elias flew toward the nearest keeper vessel. Had fired a time-lock cannon. He twisted the controls, unfolded sideways through it. Reality bent. Elias and his ship danced between seconds. The blade struck the first keeper ship, exploded in silence. The other two keepers closed in. One fired a temporal anchor, trying to pin the ship in place. The second charged a memory bomb meant to erase all identity from the target. Saren shouted, they're trying to lock your name out of history. Elias gritted his teeth. Not again. Not this time. He surged forward, activating the name pulsar new system. The ship's AI spoke, clear and strong. I am Elias Gray. I remember. I exist. The blast knocked the keeper ship back. Stared in awe. You just created a time anchor, using your own identity. Elias turned, eyes fierce. Let them try to erase me now. With one final move, Elias folded space inward and blasted through the last keeper ship. It vanished, in a wave of fractured light. The ripple in time closed. The sky was silent once more. Elias sat back in the pilot's seat, heart racing. Saren touched his shoulder. You just did what no one else could. You fought the keepers and won. He looked at her. I think I'm starting to remember things. Not everything, but pieces. Places I've seen before. People I think I cared about. She smiled. That's how it begins. He looked at the stars. For a man with no history, I think I'm ready to make one. Space was calm again, but Elias knew better. The silence after a battle was never real peace. It was the quiet breath before the next strike. His ship floated near a cold asteroid field, hidden in the shadows. No patrols, no chatter, just the deep hum of the engines still pulsing with timeline energy. Saren sat on the floor near the core, eyes closed. She was weak. The fight against the Chrono Keepers had drained her. Even light beings had limits. Elias checked the systems. Shields were low. Timefold drive needed to recharge. Weapons offline. They had won the last battle, but they were vulnerable now. That's when the ship's AI gave a new warning. Intrusion detected. Internal presence unidentified. Elias spun around. What do you mean internal? The AI pulsed. Again, unknown entity aboard location, medbay. He grabbed a pulse rifle from the armory. It wasn't like him to panic, but something felt wrong. Very wrong. He stepped into the medbay slowly. The door slid open with a hiss. The lights were dim. The equipment hummed. Everything looked normal until he saw the figure sitting on the bed. It was a man, wearing dark armor, helmet off, pale skin, eyes like broken glass. And in his hands he held one of Elias's memory cores. How did you get in here? Elias asked. The man didn't look up. I didn't come in. I woke up. Elias's finger tensed on the trigger. Who are you? The man stood slowly. I'm what happens when you lose. I'm the future where you fail. Elias fired. The pulse bolt hit the man directly. But he didn't fall. He smiled, then vanished like smoke dissolving in light. Threat still present, the AI said. The medbay doors locked behind Elias. Then the lights flickered and the figure appeared again. But this time he looked different. He looked familiar. He looked like Elias, older, angrier, his face scarred, one eye missing, armor fused to his skin. Still don't recognize me, the man said. I'm you, from the end of all things. Elias backed away. No, that's not possible. Everything is possible now, the future version said. You made it so. Why are you here? Elias asked. To stop you, because you still think there's hope. He reached out. I remember this moment. I begged myself to quit, to leave Saren behind, to abandon the ship before it was too late. I won't do that, Elias said. The future self narrowed his eyes. Then you'll become me. He stepped forward and suddenly the walls of the medbay shattered, not in metal but in memory. Elias was falling, not physically but through moments, flashing images. He saw wars he hadn't fought yet, fleets burning, planets falling into black holes, Saren screaming as she dissolved into light, a world covered in ash with his name carved into stone. Here died the last human, and then he was back, on the floor. The memory attack had ended. Saren was standing over him. You saw him, she said softly. Elias nodded. My future self. He wants to kill me. No, Saren said. He wants to stop you, because he thinks there's no saving what's coming. Elias looked up. Is he wrong? She hesitated. I don't know. That depends on what you do next. Suddenly, alarms blared again. Multiple vessels detected, closing fast. Saren ran to the console. That's not Federation. That's a private fleet. Elias checked the ID signals. Mercenaries. No government ties. Just hired guns. Someone sent them, he said, to finish what the Keepers started. Saren pointed at the scanner. Look at the lead ship. He zoomed in. It was a Hunter-class dreadnought, but it wasn't aiming at Elias's ship. It was aimed at the asteroid field, at the small mining colony hiding inside it. This isn't about me, Elias said slowly. They're using me as bait. They want me to surrender to save those people. Saren stared at him. You don't have weapons active. If you go in now, you die. Elias's voice was calm. Maybe, but this is how legends begin. He sat in the pilot's seat. The ship responded, still weak, still recharging, but it understood the choice. The screens lit up. One shot available. Core strike charged. Target the lead ship, Elias ordered. Saren stepped back. That shot will drain everything. After this, you won't be able to run. You won't be able to jump. I know, he said. He focused. Held his breath. Fired. The energy blast wasn't visible. There was no beam, just a ripple, like time being bent inward. Then the dreadnought vanished. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. The rest of the fleet panicked. Without their lead ship, their system coordination collapsed. Some ran, some fired blindly, but Elias didn't stay to fight. He landed near the mining colony, stepped out, and faced the confused, frightened crowd. He raised his hands. I'm not your enemy, he said. I'm just a man with a broken ship. And a promise to keep. News of the dreadnought's disappearance spread like wildfire. Whispers across stations, planets, and relays a man with no past, a ship that could kill without a trace. Some called him a ghost, others called him a weapon. But one word began to rise. Again. One word from the lost timeline, Chronolord. Back in the ship, Saren looked at Elias. You made your first kill. He nodded. And saved people who didn't know my name, she replied softly. Now the galaxy will learn it. He looked ahead at the stars. I'm not running anymore. The transmission began without warning, across hundreds of outposts, stations, and drifting relay towers. Every screen flickered, even secure military networks, even private comm channels. A single image took over. A man worn, tired, covered in armor, shaped like living metal, one eye glowing like a dying sun. He stood on the bridge of a strange ship, something vast, unknown, clearly not from any human fleet, and then he spoke. I am Elias Gray. I'm the last mistake the galaxy forgot to erase, and now, I remember everything. The message lasted only 90 seconds, but it echoed through every system in the broadcast. Elias didn't make threats, he gave warnings. He spoke about time fractures, how the galaxy's timeline had been edited, rewritten, and manipulated for centuries. He said something was coming, something older than the first human jump drive, a war that humanity never remembered because it had been deleted from time. He ended with a final sentence. I don't want war, but I will not be deleted. Again, on Earth, at the deep vaults of the Temporal Authority, alarms blared. The director of Time Defense stood frozen as the message replayed. A younger officer whispered, "That's not a live feed. It came from a future timestamp." The director turned pale. From which year? The reply came slowly. Year 10,044. Back on Ilias's ship, he sat quietly in the pilot's chair. Saren appeared beside him, light flickering around her form. You sent the message, she said. I had to, Elias replied. They're hunting me like I'm a threat, but they don't understand what's really coming. Saren nodded. The old ones, the first editors of time, they're waking up. Elias looked down at his hands. I remember pieces now. The war, the cities that lived for 1 hour, the children born in reverse time. He shivered. I saw what happens if no one stops it. The galaxy didn't know who to believe. Some called the message a terrorist threat. Some said it was a future AI pretending to be human. Others believed. They formed secret networks, whispered his name, shared stories of the mining colony Elias saved, shared footage of the dreadnought that vanished without a trace. In those corners of space, a name returned, Chronolord, but others wanted blood. An elite unit was formed in the Black Sector's Unit Null, commanded by an AI-human hybrid named Leon, who had no heart, no memory, and no fear of time corruption. He had one goal: find Elias Gray, terminate him permanently, even if it meant rewriting Earth's entire history to do it. Meanwhile, Elias and Saren approached a strange part of the galaxy, unmapped, hidden. The ship led them there. Not Saren, not Elias. It followed coordinates buried in its own code. The stars here were dim, the sky darker than normal space. This place, Saren whispered, it's outside recorded time. The ship stopped near an invisible structure, but with the ship's advanced sensors, it appeared a vault floating in darkness, made of a material that absorbed starlight. There were no doors, no engines, no markings. Just one symbol carved in gold. Infinity. Saren gasped. The Infinity Vault. Elias stared at it. What is it? She whispered. Where the first humans stored time, before the keepers, before the editors, when we still wrote our own history. The ship opened a path, a bridge of light connected them to the vault. I need to go in alone, Elias said. Saren looked concerned. It could be a trap. He nodded. It probably is. But if I'm really the one meant to fix time, then this vault holds the truth. Inside the vault, time didn't exist. Elias floated, not walking. He saw moments floating like glass bubbles. One showed Earth before the jump age. One showed a future Earth, overgrown with vines and ruins. Another showed him older, holding a child, looking at a galaxy where stars pulsed like hearts. And then he saw the broken one, a timeline where Earth never existed, where humanity never climbed out of gravity, where only silence lived. A single voice echoed, this is what they want. Silence, control, a timeline with no risk, no freedom. Elias spoke out loud, then I choose the loud future. He awoke outside the vault. Saren was waiting. So was a new message from the ship's AI memory core unlocked. Original timeline restoration possible. Warning, this action will trigger countermeasures. Elias smiled. Let them come. In the darkest part of space, Unit Null received a signal. Callian stood on his warship's bridge. The voice inside his skull whispered, Elias Gray has touched the core. Callion's eyes glowed red. Prepare the paradox bomb. We end this in his past. Saren looked at Elias. You just started the second timeline war. He nodded. And this time we fight on our terms. The stars were burning. Elias stood at the edge of a ruined system, 12 suns, each collapsing into itself, not by age, not by natural death, but by design. He stared through the cockpit window, as the last star crumpled like paper folding inward. It vanished with a faint pulse, no explosion, no light, just gone. Serene floated beside him, silent. That was the Tyrian line, she said. 7 inhabited planets, 5 billion lives. Ilias's jaw tightened. Who did this? She turned slowly. The editors. They're striking timelines now, she said. Ones where you rise to power. They're burning your future before it begins. Elias gripped the controls. He remembered the vault, the visions, the timeline where Earth never existed, where stars were still, and silence ruled. They weren't just hunting him anymore. They were killing his future descendants, wiping entire civilizations. Before they could reach space, whole branches of time deleted like a mistake in a document. Elias spoke quietly. Then we burn back. Deep in the black zone, Unit Null prepared their final weapon. The paradox bomb. It didn't explode with fire. Exploded through time where it landed. The past unraveled. People were never born. Memories erased. Cities never built. Their plan, drop it on Earth 1,000 years before Elias Gray is born. End him forever. On board Ilias's ship, the AI pinged sharply. Warning, temporal bomb detected. Target Earth Prime, year 3044, Saren gasped. That's the anchor point, where your timeline starts. Elias turned the ship fast. Plot a full jump to that year. Take us home. The ship strained. Jumping backwards was harder than going forward. Time didn't want to be touched, but Elias forced it. He gripped the core controls, his body burning from pressure. His ship roared. The walls shimmered. For a second, he saw every version of Earth lush, ruined, frozen, burning, all at once. Then blackness. Silence. Then light. They arrived above Earth year 3044, before the first AI cities. Before interstellar travel, humanity still fought small wars, still poisoned oceans, still believed the stars were out of reach. It was messy. It was real. It was home. Saren pointed to orbit. There, the null vessel is preparing the drop. Elias zoomed in. The paradox bomb floated like a small mooncold, silver pulsing with anti-history. Saren said, if that drops, you'll never be born, your ship never made, I'll never appear. Elias stared and smiled. Then let's make history. Loud, he pushed the ship forward. It wasn't ready for war, but it didn't matter. The ship remembered what was at stake. As they approached the null ship, Callion stood waiting on his bridge. Gray has arrived, he said. Good. He raised his hand. The bomb dropped. Time slowed. Serin cried out. We're too late. Elias closed his eyes. No, we're just on time. He touched the vault code inside the ship. Deep, hidden. Activate chrono thread. Warning. Initiating time thread will merge conflicted timelines. Approve. He slammed his palm down. Do it. The ship split. Not physically, but across timelines. 10 versions of Ilias's ship formed. Each from a different reality. Each from a different reality. Each with a different weapon, a different strategy, a different pilot. Elias. All fighting at once. Callion's ship fired at them, but no single shot could hit all of them at once. They dodged, folded, vanished, reappeared like a storm of possibilities. One version of Elias, Scott, sacrificed his ship to block the bomb. The explosion should have erased him, but instead, it stopped. Frozen. The real Elias, our Elias, appeared behind it, holding the thread. Anchor, a temporal weapon only usable by those who remembered. The vault. He fired once. A silent beam. The paradox bomb unraveled each layer, peeling like bark from a tree, releasing trapped timelines, memories. Lives. Earth blinked, shaken but whole. The future survived. Callion screamed. He rushed Ilias' ship, but Saren smiled. You forgot what Elias becomes. Elias met Callion head-on, ship to ship, blade to blade. And when it ended, only one remained. Back aboard his ship, bruised, tired, Elias sat in the dark. Saren floated beside him. You did it. For now, Elias said. But they'll keep trying. They will. She agreed. But now they fear you. He looked at her. They should. Earth's sky turned quiet again. But across the galaxy, stories spread. Of the man who broke time to protect a single future. Of ships that flew in and out of seconds. Of a bomb that failed to erase the impossible. and in hidden messages, on back relay towers, 3 words returned: Elias still lives. 3 weeks after the Paradox bomb was stopped, the galaxy changed. News spread faster than light, not about Elias Gray but about something following him. Sensors in deep space began picking up ships that didn't exist. No registry, no heat signature, no mass, but they moved fast, precise, silent. And always in the shape of human vessels. Some called them ghosts, others called them errors in time. But Saren had another name, the fleet that never returned. Elias sat quietly on his ship, staring at the transmission logs. 7 ghost ships had appeared near the Singer Gap, 5 more around the edge of the Yora Nebula, and 1 just outside Earth's orbit disappeared after 2 seconds. They never attacked, didn't speak, they just watched. Saren leaned against the wall. You feel it, don't you? Elias nodded. They're not enemies, but they're not here for peace either. In orbit around the broken moon of Dala 6, Elias followed the latest signal. His ship glided past the jagged rock square at slow. Then he saw it, a destroyer-class warship. Old Earth design but heavily damaged. Its hull was ripped, but no signs of decay, no radiation, no rust. Just paused. Frozen in time. Elias docked carefully and stepped aboard. The lights flickered. No gravity. He floated past shattered consoles and flickering holoscreens. But there were bodies, dozens of them, humans still dressed in old-style Navy suits, Earth Defense Force. All dead, except 1 blinked. The man gasped, coughing, then looked straight at Elias. Are we back? He whispered. Elias moved fast, stabilizing him. What happened? The man's voice was weak. We were part of Fleet Theta, sent to stop the chrono collapse. 900 years ago, we entered a time fold. We never came out. Saren appeared beside them. You've been frozen in a ripple, she said. Elias's presence broke the lock. The man's eyes widened. Elias Gray. The Elias Gray. He reached into his coat and pulled out a metal disc. We were carrying this for you. Elias took the disc. It lit up in his hands, spinning, opening. A voice played from inside. His own voice, but older, rougher. If you're hearing this, then I failed. The editors took me, but I left pieces of myself behind. Ships, codes, messages. You can still win. The fleet is lost in the dead folds. But you can bring them back. Use the thread. Call the forgotten. Let them remember they were never erased. Elias looked at Saren. What does it mean? She stepped forward. It means your legend wasn't just told. It was planted. Across time, buried in ghost ships, hidden in echoes. You can bring them all back. Elias stared through the cracked window of the dead destroyer. Ghost ships, lost fighters, old Earth crews, people who vanished trying to protect the timeline, he whispered. They're not ghosts. Saren nodded. They're soldiers waiting for a signal. Back on his ship, Elias uploaded the disk into the thread core. The system glowed bright. Ghost signal found. 17 vessels detected in deadfold. Activate memory code. YN. Elias didn't hesitate. Why? Across space, in dark corners of forgotten systems, ships began to move. Wrecks powered up. Cracked holes repaired themselves. Crew members gasped awake from time stations, and one by one they jumped back into real space, each one heading for a single beacon. Elias Gray. Command stations across the galaxy were thrown into chaos. Unknown ships appearing from nowhere. Earth-class. Ancient designs, broadcasting one message. We never surrendered. We never died. Awaiting orders. Commander Gray. Saren stood beside Elias on the command deck. The screen filled with ships, dozens now. More arriving every hour. They weren't beautiful, they were broken, burned, half-forgotten. But each one carried memories of battles fought in secret timelines, of lives erased, of soldiers abandoned. And now, they were back. Elias stared out at his new fleet. Some said he was dangerous. Some called him a mistake. But now, the galaxy would have to face the truth. He wasn't alone anymore. He was leading a ghost army made of time, loss, and vengeance. And they were ready to fight, far away. In a timeline hidden behind firewall stars, the editors watched. One turned to the others. He's calling them back. The war fleet. Another spoke coldly. It's time to release the final rewrite. The galaxy shivered. Because the next move would not be against Elias, that it would be against history itself. The stars changed, one by one. Systems began disappearing from star maps. Whole planets, civilizations, events deleted. Not by war, not by destruction, but by rewrite. The editors had begun their final move. They weren't just erasing Elias Gray. They were rewriting the galaxy itself. Elias stood at the heart of his ship. Around him, The Ghost Fleet waited in formation. 39 ships returned from deadfold space. Some still flickered in and out of time. Some had crews. Others ran on AI memories. But all had answered his call. Seren floated beside him, silent. She felt the shift in reality. It rippled through her like cold air. "It's happening," she whispered. Elias nodded. "They're rewriting the timeline." Seren turned to him. "This is more than war now. This is the end of memory, the end of choice." He stared at the stars. "Then we'll write it back." From a hidden point outside real space, a structure appeared. Not a ship. Not a station. The rewrite engine, built by the first editors at the birth of time. It was larger than moons, covered in glowing rings and shifting metal. It moved like it was alive. Inside it, a new timeline was being written, one where Elias Gray never existed, where humanity never reached beyond Earth. Where the stars belonged only to the keepers. The AI inside Elias's ship gave its report. Rewrite engine activated. Timeline erasure 12%. Speed increasing. Warning: Ghost Fleet presence unstable. Ships may vanish from memory. Elias turned to the fleet. "This is our last stand," he broadcasted. "You're not just ships. Your memories, your proof we existed." He raised a hand. "They want silence. We give them thunder." The fleet jumped across the dark fold toward the rewrite engine. As they moved, ships began blinking, vanishing, returning, caught between timelines. Elias felt his body grow cold. He was being rewritten, 2 fingers fading, thoughts missing. He fought to hold on. Seren grabbed his arm. "Stay now, Elias. Anchor yourself in this moment." He reached for the ship's core, a final memory key, the one he had never used. It unlocked. A surge of light filled the command deck. Suddenly, Elias saw everything. His birth, his erasure, his first jump, the alternate versions of himself, the old man who tried to stop him, the Vault, the Ghost Fleet, the war that was erased before it began, and he saw what came. Next he spoke softly. "I remember it all." They reached a rewrite engine. Defenses activated. Hundreds of fractal drones swarmed the fleet. Time weapons, memory bombs. Ships were hit and some didn't explode. They unhappened, gone as if they never flew. But Elias led the charge. He flew through the storm of anti-history. Each move burned into the timeline. Because he wasn't fighting for power, he was fighting for existence. Inside the engine, the final editor stood waiting. A creature made of light and data, not human, not machine. It spoke across space and mind. "You do not belong," Elias replied. "That's what they always say right before we win." The editor released a final pulse. Reality rippled. The fleet staggered. Seren fell to one knee. Elias held on. Then he reached for the last weapon. Not a gun, not a bomb, but a single memory from the vault. A child on Earth looking up at the stars. A moment of curiosity, a spark of wonder. He sent it into the engine, not as an attack but as a rewrite of his own. The engine paused, flickered, slowed. The memory grew. Other memories joined it. The Ghost Fleet fed it memories of battles, losses, moments of hope. And the rewrite engine, designed to follow the dominant narrative, shifted. It no longer saw Elias as a glitch. It saw him as the central thread. The rewrite failed. Reality locked. Elias Gray was now anchored in time forever. The engine exploded in a pulse of light. The drones vanished. The fleet steadied. Seren looked at Elias, one shaking. "You did it." "No," Elias said softly. "We all did." Across the galaxy, timelines stabilized. People remembered, not just the stories of Elias, but the stories of the forgotten fleets, of the silent ships that came home, and everywhere. 3 words were carved into history. Elias still lives. Back aboard his ship, Elias stood at the edge of the viewing deck. The stars were calm. The galaxy was whole again. Seren stood beside him. "What now?" she asked. He looked forward. "We build, we heal, and if time tries to break again," he smiled, "we'll be there."